what's up guys, Longat here, welcome back to the channel. Today me and my brother Roxo gonna show you how to make beats in the style of Central C. In the specific, those drill beats with guitars and vocal chops on it. So yeah, first I'm gonna show you my breakdown of the sample that I made. Then my brother Roxo gonna add some drums to it. So yeah, without further ado, let's get into it. So this is how the sample sounds like. So yeah, as you heard, it's really wavy, really bouncy, and the first element I started off for this sample is obviously the guitar, and this is what it sounds like. So yeah, we in the E minor scale, 140 BPM. For the guitar, I use Contact, the picked acoustic from Session Guitarist, and I use the preset Pawn Shop guitar. And for effects, I use Effect Wrap, and I put a micro shift just to add, sort of a chorus. Then some EQ to cut some of the low, flanger, and Valhalla Vintage Verb. So for the notes, since I mess with music theory, and correct me if I'm wrong in the comments, I think I started off with the E minor chord right here, then proceed with the D major chord, copy again the E minor chord, D major right here, then I switch up the root note here to the F sharp. And one cool thing to do when playing guitar with VSTs is to add these little runs right here, this one, and this one, just to make it sound more realistic, more like somebody is really playing the guitar. And yeah, I'ma let you hear these these little runs. Yeah, this is a very cool thing to do when when making guitar loops and stuff like that. After the guitar, I wanted to add more ambience to the sample, so I knew that I needed a pad or something like that, and this is what it sounds like. So yeah, here nothing too complex. I just copy the chords from the guitar, but not strummed. And on the second part of the sample, I just pitch it up one octave the chords. And yeah, for the pad, I use Contact and I use Cloud Supply. The preset is Aceramo, I don't know how to pronounce it, but yeah, anyway, I added an EQ to cut some of the lows, some of the highs. I had it on Shepherd Box, and I used this filter right here, this one, to give it a sort of a side chain and create more movement and some reverb. So yeah, this one is a sort of accent. So yeah, I use contact and I use this preset from the lead section. And yeah, for the effects, I put an EQ and I cut a lot of the lows, effect rack, and I use the analog delay bright and white preset, and so reverb. So yeah, after the synth, I added these keys. This is what they sounds like. Yeah, I just copy and paste the chords from the pad, and for the keys I use contact, again cloud supply, the P preset from keys section. I added an EQ, got some of the lows, a little bit of the highs, RC20 to make it sound, you know, more vintage, vinyl 1 preset, and on the EQ right here, I just cut more of the lows and more of the highs. Last one, shaper box, and I added this filter right here that gives to the keys a sort of a fade out. So after the keys, here we are with the most important element along with the guitar, the vocal chops. I'm pretty sure that I found out these vocal chops on Splice, and I chop it up a little bit. This is what they sounds like. Yeah, this is that element that really gives bounce to the whole sample. So yeah, for the effects, I use F-time, but only on the second part of the chops, and I put on 1/4 loop. Then shaper box, and I use this filter right here to give, you know, more bounce to the chops. Then I had an EQ to create, you know, the vocal telephone effect, and cassette to give it a more vintage feeling. I'm not sure about the preset. It's not a default preset. I don't know why it doesn't show up. And last one, I added, you know, a little compressor right here. And last thing on the sample is of course the bass, and this is what it sounds like. Yeah, nothing too complex. I just copy the root note of the guitar. I use this one shot from Mercury 2 one-shot kit, the Moog Space Voyage, and I just added an EQ to cut some of the highs. So yeah, that's it pretty much for the sample. Now I'm gonna pass the ball to my brother Roxo. We're gonna show you how to make drill drums around this type of samples. And yeah, we'll see you on the next one. Peace.
What is good, y'all? Today I'm gonna be breaking down the drum parts of the beat, and I'm gonna be showcasing you all the midis and all the patterns that I did, and show you how you can always spice up your drill beats. This is gonna be a melodic type drill beat like Central C would hop on, and yeah, let's just jump straight into it. Longad actually sent this beautiful ass melody, and first thing I did was I pitched down the melody by 1 semitone, so we are in D sharp minor because originally it was in E minor. I separated the bass from the rest of the melody, and how you can do that is when you separated all the stems from the loop, you click right here and make it unique. Now you can move it to a separate mixer track. And the effects I use for the melody, I used an ozone imager for the melody to separate the different bands and to make it a little stereoized and to make the whole melody a little bit wider. And I cut the lows, I usually cut the lows at 200 Hz, a little above 200, and that way you can keep a lot of room for the 808. So as always, I start off with the hi-hat, and this is how it's actually sounding. So I'm going to show you how you can make it your own sound. So what I usually do is I go into 1/4 beat mode and I lay down this basic pattern, and you must play with the velocity to get these kind of drill vibes. So just play around the velocity like this. So it's actually not that kind of generic pattern for a hi-hat, but as you can hear, it sounds good, especially if you layer with another hi-hat. So I'm gonna move on to the next hi-hat. So it's not actually a hi-hat, it is a counter snare, which sounds like a little bit like a snare, and this is how it sounds. What I do with my counter snares is that I leave more space in between. As you can see, there are a lot of space between the notes, and I usually pan some of the rolls that I have to the left or the right. There's not really any more option, to be honest. Yeah, it's basically you can use any kind of rim you want, and this is how it sounds with both counter snare and the hi-hat. Then I moved on to the snare, and yeah, it is just typical drill type snare pattern. And I chose this crispy snare type stuff. It sounds like a rim, almost. And how you can do a pattern is that I usually start off with the default place for a snare, like this. But I would put the next snare, I just kind of leave it blank and place some notes right here. I can always chop up your snares like this and make the velocity go up, so it sounds more bouncy. And yes, you can basically copy this over and change up some notes right here. You can even make like a more frequent roll like this. You just have to press Alt-U to pop out this chopper tool, and you can play around with this knob right here so it changes the value. And just make the velocity go up, and this is how it sounds. And now let's move on to the perks. Actually, we got like 5 layers of perks. And it's nothing special. I just wanted to add more like accent drums, like some fillings where I felt like it sounded kind of empty. It kind of sounds like a shaker type thing. Then I laid down another shaker type thing. It actually has some delay on it. Then I added this perk, which I layered with the snare pattern. I put it down where a snare would hit, and it is kind of like a reverbed, more lowered pitch kind of thing. It sounds kind of dope, to be honest. It adds more like feel to the whole thing, more depth, and yeah. Then I did this perk to the very end of the pattern. It almost sounds like the last one I show you. Then I added a reverby thing again. As you can see, it's a really repetitive pattern. Didn't want to make too complicated, as you can hear. And it's nothing special, as you can hear. It doesn't really stand out from the whole pattern, but it adds a lot of texture, it sounds more unique, and yeah, it just makes it better. So let's move on to the kick and the 808. So please don't judge me, but I always start with the kick, so I feel the bounce more, what I want to go for. And what I actually did was I laid down this first kick, and then I skipped like 2 bars to put down another note. But you can put like a kick right here, especially when you don't put a snare right here. Yeah, it's just a different way you can do it. but you must listen to the whole beat, not just the drum pattern, to feel the bounce more. Play around with the drums when you can actually hear the drums blending into the loop that you are using, so it sounds like a whole with the loop basically. Then I chose this not really aggressive but a cleaner type 808, and this is how it sounds. As you can see, I didn't go too crazy with the 808 slide. In the first part, first 4 bars, I don't have any, but I actually do have another pattern which I completely removed the slide notes, and I just, I went pretty minimalist with it. So one way you can do your 808 slides is usually chop off the bass notes and put a little note right here, and so I'm gonna show you how to do this. So you cut your note right here, so you chop it up like this, then you take this note, double click it, click right here to make it the slide, and just make sure to stay in scale. You can always get your helper, scale highlight, and choose the key of your loop, and so you know when you put like a note right here, when it's highlighted, you know it's just in the key. So as you can see, we are not in key with this D note right here. As you can hear, when you put it on the second note right here, like this, it doesn't sound as good as when you put it right here. And you can always go crazy if you put it up 5 semitones like this. You can always chop it up a little more. So this is how the whole beat sounds so far. So I'm gonna show you all what I did with the transitions, because it makes the whole beat a lot more interesting. So first what I did, I picked this riser right here. So you will have a little intro to the next part of the beat, and also this crashing note right here. I'm gonna go through the fills, which are intentionally drill type fills, as you can hear, which makes the whole thing a lot more interesting. I always try to pick fills that are blending in with the original drum sounds that I chose to use, and so I decided to pick another fill to make it more colorful, I guess. So I'm gonna go through the master. I have a fruity soft clipper with the default setting. I have a fresher with 10% mid-air and 10% higher. Fresher is basically a free plugin to use. It's kind of an exciter. It adds more color to the high, mid and high end. A compressor, an Airvox compressor to glue the whole thing up a little more. You can always use glue compressor, that's the better choice in my opinion, but it's a really easy to use VST. And an ozone, which if you use the master assistant and play the beat, it's gonna automatically set up your preferences. You can also use a reference track if you want to. And yeah, that's pretty much it for the whole tutorial, guys. If you wanna follow us on Instagram, go ahead and do that. And yeah, I'm gonna see you all soon in the next video. Stay safe. Peace.